Time is not just something you manage. Time is your life. When you waste time, you're not just being inefficient. You are literally throwing away pieces of your existence that you can never reclaim. Most people talk about time like it's something outside of themselves, something they have or don't have. But here's the truth. You are made of time. Every second that passes is a second of you passing. Your life is measured not in years, but in how you spend your hours, your minutes, your moments, your moments. Think about this. Money lost can be earned again. Energy lost can be recovered with rest. Even opportunities, when missed, can sometimes come back around. But time is the only thing that once gone is gone forever. That's not just poetic language. It's brutal, practical truth. You don't manage time. You manage your choices inside the time you have. The average person lives around 78 years. That's roughly 28,470 days. Sleep nearly a third of that. That leaves maybe 18,000 days of waking life. People spend hours on entertainment, social media, gossip, overthinking, and scrolling, all while saying they don't have time to chase their goals, read a book, build a business, call their parents, or improve their health. The problem is rarely a lack of time. It's a lack of awareness of how precious and non-renewable your time actually is. The difference between successful people and average ones isn't intelligence, talent, or resources. It's urgency and clarity. Successful people treat time like oxygen. They don't waste it because they understand it's the one thing they can't buy more of. They ask themselves constantly, is this the best use of my time right now? That single question has the power to reshape your entire day, your year, and eventually your life. Time doesn't wait for you to be ready. It doesn't care if you're motivated. It doesn't ask you if you feel like working on your goals today. Time moves with or without your permission. And if you're not moving with it, if you're not using it with purpose, it will quietly leave you behind. One day, you'll look up and wonder where the last 5 or 10 years went. And you won't be able to point to anything meaningful because you were too distracted doing things that didn't matter. There's a myth people believe that they'll have more time later. Later when the kids grow up. Later when work slows down. Later when things calm down. But here's the truth. Later is where your dreams go to die. If it matters now. If it's a priority, it belongs on today's agenda. Stop negotiating with your potential. You weren't born to scroll, to wait, to procrastinate. You were born to create, to grow, to contribute, to build something with the hours you've been given. And don't confuse being busy with being productive. You can be incredibly busy every day and still be going nowhere. The question isn't how packed your calendar is. The question is, are you moving in the direction of your goals? Every minute you spend should be an investment. You should be asking yourself, what is the return on the time I'm spending right now? Is it helping me grow? Is it helping me grow? Is it improving my health, my relationships, my income, my peace of mind? Or is it just passing time, keeping me distracted and stagnant? Time doesn't just flow, it burns. And it burns whether you use it or not. The real tragedy isn't that life is short. The tragedy is that most people wait too long to start living it. Most people don't lack time, intelligence, or even opportunity. They lack clarity. You can't hit a target you can't see. And yet, day after day, millions of people wake up with no clear goal, no specific direction, and no real purpose driving their actions. They're busy, they're stressed, they're constantly in motion, but they're not going anywhere meaningful. Why? Because they haven't taken the time to get crystal clear on what they actually want. Clarity is what turns motion into momentum. It's what transforms vague wishes into actionable plans. When you're clear on what you want, decisions get easier. You don't waste time second-guessing or chasing shiny distractions. You start to operate with intention instead of impulse. You stop saying yes to things that don't align with your goals, and you start building a life that's congruent with who you are and what you value most. Ask someone what they want in life, and most people will say, I just want to be happy, or I want success. Those aren't goals. Those are vague concepts. What specifically does happiness look like to you? What exactly does success mean for your life, your career, your relationships, your health? The more specific you are, the more power you gain. A person with a clear goal will always outperform someone with a vague desire, even if the second person has more talent. Clarity is like turning on a light in a dark room. Suddenly you can see what's around you. You stop bumping into things. You start moving with purpose. The fog clears, and now you know where to put your energy, what to focus on, and just as importantly, what to ignore. Without clarity, everything looks like an opportunity. With clarity, most things reveal themselves as distractions. Your brain is a goal-seeking mechanism. When you give it a clear, measurable target, it begins to filter your environment, recognize patterns, and direct your attention in ways that support that outcome. But if your mind is filled with uncertainty and generalizations, it has nothing to work with. You can't build a strategy around a someday or a maybe. You need dates, numbers, milestones. You need to see it in your mind before you ever see it in the world. One of the fastest ways to gain clarity is to write things down. Sit with a pen and paper, no screens, no noise, and ask yourself, what do I want in the next 12 months? What kind of person do I need to become to achieve that? What does my ideal day look like? What do I need to eliminate from my life to get there faster? These aren't complicated questions, but most people avoid them because they force you to confront your indecision and your comfort zones. But those questions are the doorway to progress. Clarity also kills procrastination. When you know exactly what the next step is, you don't have to wait to feel motivated. You just take the step. Most procrastination isn't laziness. It's a lack of direction. When the next move is vague, the mind defaults to doing nothing. But when the next step is obvious and achievable, momentum builds. You start to trust yourself more. You start seeing results. And results fuel confidence. Another powerful truth: clarity gives you speed. When your vision is clear, you stop wasting months or years chasing things that were never meant for you in the first place. You stop going in circles, trying to please everyone, or proving yourself in the wrong arenas. You cut through the noise. You simplify. You execute. And in a world full of distracted, overwhelmed people, someone with clear intent becomes unstoppable. Most people think they're lazy. They beat themselves up for not getting things done, for procrastinating, for wasting hours on their phone or avoiding the work that matters. But the truth is, laziness isn't the real issue. The real enemy is distraction. In fact, most people who think they're lazy are actually overwhelmed, overstimulated, and mentally scattered. They're not doing nothing. They're doing everything except the right thing. Distraction is more dangerous than laziness because it's sneaky. It doesn't feel like failure in the moment. Scrolling, binge watching, checking notifications, replying to emails, these things feel like you're doing something. They keep your brain busy, but your goal's stuck. Distraction is productivity's greatest thief, and it wears 1,000 disguises. You don't wake up in the morning saying, I plan to waste today. But without intention and boundaries, your entire day can disappear in small, unnoticeable time leaks. A few minutes on Instagram, a couple texts, a quick check of the news. One YouTube video turns into 3. Before you know it, the deep work never started. The workout got skipped, the book went unread, and the goals stayed untouched. The modern world is designed to distract you. You're not weak. You're not lazy. You're surrounded by billions of dollars worth of technology, programming and algorithms, all engineered to steal your focus. Social media platforms don't sell content. They sell your attention. Every ping, notification, and endless scroll is a hook pulling you away from what matters. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as it was built, to keep you distracted. True focus today is a superpower. If you can sit down, block out the noise, and do 60 minutes of uninterrupted, intentional work, you're already ahead of 90% of the population. Most people can't go 10 minutes without checking something. They don't even realize how scattered they've become, because the distraction has become the default. But the people who learn how to protect their focus, who learn how to say no to the noise, are the ones who win. Wins who win. Distraction thrives in the absence of clarity and structure. If you don't know what your priorities are, anything can feel important. If you don't plan your time, someone else will use it for you. Meetings, emails, phone calls, errands, group chats. None of these are inherently bad, but without control, they can consume your entire schedule and leave you with nothing left for what actually moves your life forward. The antidote to distraction is not just discipline, it's design. It's design. You have to create an environment that supports your focus. That might mean deleting apps, turning off notifications, setting time blocks, or working in a different space. You have to build systems that make distraction harder and deep work easier. Willpower is limited. Systems are sustainable. And here's something few people realize. Your brain craves distraction when your life lacks meaning. If you don't have a compelling reason to focus, you'll unconsciously seek out ways to avoid the boredom, the discomfort, the quiet. That's why goals matter. That's why purpose matters. That's why purpose matters. When you're locked in on a mission, distraction loses its grip. You don't need motivation to avoid your phone. You're too busy building something that matters to you. Most people have no idea how much they could achieve simply by reclaiming the time they already have. Not by working harder or sleeping less, but by removing the invisible weights of distraction they carry every day. You don't need a new tool or another app. You need less noise, more intention, and the courage to disconnect from what's stealing your future while pretending to entertain you. One of the biggest traps that keeps people from achieving their full potential isn't failure. It's not fear. It's not lack of opportunity. It's settling for good instead of striving for great. The good job, the decent routine, the okay relationship, the comfortable schedule, it all feels fine. It's not painful. It's not broken. But that's exactly the problem. It's just good enough to keep you from demanding better. The truth is, good is the enemy of great. Because good convinces you to stop pushing. It tells you that you've done enough. That you should be satisfied. That there's no need to aim higher or dig deeper. Good is a silent killer of dreams because it gives you just enough success to quiet your ambition, but not enough fulfillment to actually feel alive. People don't burn out from doing too much. They burn out from doing the wrong things for too long. When you fill your life with a good enough choices, good enough habits, good enough jobs, good enough goals, you slowly drain your energy. There's no spark, no fire, no fire. No reason to stretch yourself, to grow, to break through. Comfort becomes a cage, and a good it becomes a trap disguised as stability. Saying yes to great requires a different standard. It demands you operate with intentionality. Key, it forces you to evaluate everything through the lens of alignment and impact. Is this opportunity aligned with my long-term vision? Is this relationship helping me become the best version of myself? Is this task the best use of my energy today? These are the questions that keep you from drifting. Most people say yes too easily. Not because they're weak, but because they haven't decided what matters most. If you don't have clear high standards, you'll say yes to things that look fine on the surface but pull you further from your purpose. The meeting you don't need to attend. The project that doesn't align with your goals, the favor that costs you time and gives you nothing back. These things aren't evil, they're just misaligned. And over time, misalignment becomes momentum in the wrong direction. To reach greatness, you have to become radically selective. You have to learn the skill of saying no, firmly, respectfully, and without guilt. Every time you say yes to something mediocre, you say no to something potentially extraordinary. Every yes is a trade. And if you don't protect your time and focus like your life depends on it, you'll waste years chasing opportunities that were never meant for you. Here's what separates top performers from the rest. They say no more than they say yes. They guard their time like a limited resource, because it is. It is. They don't chase every new idea. They don't attend every event. They don't accept every invitation. They filter everything through their mission, their values, and their vision. If it doesn't move the needle, it doesn't make the cut. The myth people believe is that saying no will make them miss out. That if they turn something down, they might lose a connection, an opportunity, or someone's approval. But the truth is, saying no to what's not right makes space for what is. You can't invite the right things into your life if it's already full of the wrong ones. You can't do deep work if your calendar is cluttered with noise. You can't build a great life on a foundation of good distractions. This applies to your personal standards too. You can't achieve great results with average effort. You can't expect exceptional health with a convenient diet. You can't build meaningful relationships if you're always halfway present. The difference between good and great is not complexity, it's consistency and commitment. Most people know what to do, but few are willing to hold themselves to the standard that actually produces greatness. And this is where the internal work comes in. Saying yes to great requires more than time management. It requires identity alignment. You have to start seeing yourself as someone who deserves greatness. Someone who is willing to make sacrifices, to wait for the right opportunities, to hold out for the things that actually match their values and vision. If deep down you believe you're only worthy of average, you'll keep choosing average, even when greatness is within reach. That means being honest with yourself. What are you tolerating right now that you know is just a good enough? What parts of your life are coasting on autopilot? Where are you playing small out of fear, comfort, or convenience? Uh, these are tough questions, but they reveal the friction between where you are and where you could be. Saying yes to great also means being patient. Greatness takes time. It's not convenient. It doesn't show up when you're comfortable. It shows up when you're consistent. The world is full of quick wins, easy dopamine, and instant validation. Great is slow. Great is hard. Great doesn't shout for your attention. It waits for your discipline. And most people never taste it because they're too busy grabbing what's immediately available. Think about this in terms of your future self. Imagine 10 years from now, you're sitting across from the version of you that refused to settle. That version of you said no to every distraction, every short-term compromise, every relationship or habit that didn't align. That version of you stayed focused. That version of you held the standard. What would they thank you for? What would they say you did right? The decisions that get you to great aren't dramatic. They're subtle. They're the daily refusals to lower the bar. They're the small choices to stay focused when it's easier to drift. They're the conversations you choose not to entertain, the tasks you delegate or delete, the meetings you cancel, the routines you protect. It's not about being rigid. It's about being ruthlessly clear on what matters and having the courage to cut everything that doesn't. Greatness doesn't happen by accident. It's a series of deliberate, repeated acts of focus and refusal. Every no you say today is a yes to your potential. Every distraction you eliminate creates space for deeper work. Every time you walk away from something average, you take a step closer to something exceptional. And it's that accumulation of focused, high-quality choices that separates the people who achieve greatness from those who wonder why they didn't. Most people think freedom means doing whatever you want, whenever you want. No rules, no structure, no limits. Just waking up and following your impulses. That's how society sells freedom. Spontaneous, unstructured, and full of options. But here's the truth that high performers and fulfilled individuals understand. Real freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want. It comes from doing what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. Freedom isn't the absence of discipline. Freedom is the result of discipline. It's the bridge between your current circle. It's not glamorous and it's not easy, but it's the only path that leads to true independence. Because without discipline, you're not free. You're controlled. Controlled by your moods. Controlled by your moods. Controlled by your environment. Controlled by other people's agendas. Controlled by distractions. Controlled by the constant pull of comfort, convenience, and short-term pleasure. A person without discipline might seem free from the outside, but internally, they're a prisoner. They're a prisoner. A prisoner to procrastination, a prisoner to inconsistency, a prisoner to regret. Because they haven't trained themselves to do what matters most, they're constantly chasing relief instead of results. They can't focus. They can't follow through. They can't follow through. They can't trust themselves to do what they said they would do. That's not freedom. That's chaos. Discipline, on the other hand, gives you control. It gives you mastery. It allows you to design your life on purpose, instead of just reacting to everything around you. When you're disciplined, you don't need someone else to tell you what to do. You've already made the decision. You've already set the standard. You've already built the system. You're not relying on willpower every day. You've built habits that carry you forward even when motivation is low. It starts with the small things, waking up when you said you would, showing up for your workout, sticking to your schedule, finishing the task even when it's boring. Discipline isn't about punishment. It's about honoring your commitments to yourself. Every time you follow through, even when it's uncomfortable, you build trust with yourself. You start to believe that you are who you say you are. That belief becomes the foundation for everything else. Freedom without structure is a myth. Think about the most successful athletes, artists, creators, entrepreneurs. They're not winging it. They have routines. They have systems. They have a code. Their lives may look free on the surface, but underneath is a rock-solid foundation of discipline that holds it all together. That foundation gives them the capacity to perform at a high level consistently, to handle pressure, to seize opportunities without falling apart. Discipline gives you options. When your body is strong and your mind is sharp because you've trained them, you have the freedom to say yes to more. When your finances are in order because you've budgeted, saved, and invested with discipline, you have the freedom to walk away from jobs, people, or situations that don't align. When your time is managed with discipline, you have space for creativity, rest, and the relationships that matter most. Most people want the results of discipline without the discomfort of it. They want the fit body without the daily effort, the successful business without the grind, the peace of mind without the mental training, but you can't have one without the other. Discipline is the cost of greatness. And if you're not willing to pay that cost, you will keep paying in other ways. Stress, regret, missed chances, wasted time. And here's the part most people overlook. Discipline doesn't restrict your life. It simplifies it. When you know what time you wake up, what your priorities are, what your plan looks like, you eliminate decision fatigue. You remove the chaos of uncertainty. You save your mental energy for things that actually matter. Your days become smoother, cleaner, more intentional. That's not rigidity. It's efficiency. Discipline also creates momentum. The hardest part is starting. But once you begin and you stay consistent, even for a few days, you begin to feel the shift. Your confidence grows. Your energy rises. You stop negotiating with yourself every morning. You stop making excuses. You start stacking wins. That's when things get powerful, when your discipline becomes automatic and your results start compounding. You don't have to overhaul your life in one day. Discipline grows in layers, one habit at a time, one commitment at a time, one commitment at a time. You start with the basics. Get up early, make your bed, plan your day, follow through on your top priority, eat clean, train your body, turn off the distractions. These things aren't revolutionary, but done daily, with purpose, they build unshakable strength. They train your mind to obey direction instead of desire. And when life hits you, which it always will, discipline becomes your anchor. When emotions run high, when motivation disappears, when the storm comes, you don't fall apart. You fall back on your training. You execute the plan. You hold the line. That's freedom. Not needing to rely on perfect conditions to show up and do the work. Not needing to feel inspired to stay on track. That's the kind of internal power no one can take from you. Discipline also sharpens your identity. The more consistent you are, the more clearly you begin to see yourself as capable, committed, focused. That identity shift is everything. Because once you believe you are a disciplined person, the habits become easier to maintain. It becomes less about effort and more about alignment. You're just acting like the kind of person you already believe yourself to be. That belief creates stability, it creates confidence. It creates long-term freedom. The real reward of discipline isn't just in the external outcomes. It's in who you become in the process. You stop needing validation. You stop chasing shortcuts. You stop outsourcing responsibility. You own your results. You trust yourself. You respect yourself. And that self-respect becomes a kind of freedom most people never experience. Because when you're proud of how you live, when your actions match your values, you don't need to escape your life. You don't need distractions or coping mechanisms or endless entertainment. You're fulfilled because you're in alignment. Discipline creates space. Space to think clearly. Space to create deeply. Space to live fully. It removes the noise so you can hear what really matters. It cuts through the clutter so you can see your life with clarity. It silences the inner chaos so you can move with calm, quiet confidence. That's the kind of freedom that changes everything. Not just for you, but for everyone around you. Because disciplined people elevate the standard. They lead by example. They create ripple effects that extend far beyond themselves. They don't just live with freedom, they inspire it in others. Act now, adjust later. One of the biggest mistakes people make is waiting. Waiting for the perfect moment. Waiting to feel ready. Waiting until they've done more research, gained more experience, or found the right conditions. They get stuck in a cycle of overthinking, overplanning, and overanalyzing, while their goals stay exactly where they've always been, out of reach. The truth is, you don't need more time, more knowledge, or more confidence. You need more action. Success doesn't come from knowing everything up front. It comes from getting in motion and learning along the way. The people who win in life are the ones who start before they feel ready. They don't wait for the stars to align. They get moving, and they figure it out as they go. They understand a powerful principle. Clarity comes from action, not thought. Most people think if they just plan hard enough, they can avoid mistakes. But real growth doesn't happen inside your head. It happens in the field. You can't think your way into mastery. You can't theorize your way into success. At some point, you have to stop preparing and start doing. Execution is the filter that separates dreamers from achievers. You can read every book, take every course, map out every detail, but until you move, nothing changes. The best strategy in the world is useless without action. On the other hand, even a flawed strategy, executed with urgency, will outperform a perfect one that never leaves the page. Action beats perfection, every single time. The reason most people stay stuck is because they're trying to get it right on the first try. They're afraid of looking foolish, making mistakes, or starting small. So they sit on the sidelines, watching others pass them by. But the top performers understand. You don't get to great by avoiding failure. You get there by failing faster, adjusting smarter, and refusing to quit. You don't need to be perfect to start. You need to be willing to adapt. Every move you make gives you feedback. Every move you make gives you feedback. Every step forward teaches you something you couldn't learn by sitting still. Real progress is messy, imperfect, and full of detours. But that's how it works. That's how everything works. Business, fitness, relationships, life. You move, you learn, you adjust. Then you move again. Think of a plane flying from New York to Los Angeles. It's off course most of the time. The pilot constantly adjusts. Tiny shifts in altitude, direction, speed. But the plane still lands exactly where it's supposed to. That's how success works. You don't need to stay perfectly on track. You just need to stay in the air, making consistent course corrections along the way. Waiting to feel ready is just fear in disguise. There's no magical moment when you'll feel 100% confident and fully prepared. Confidence comes after action, not before. You gain it by doing the thing, by stepping into the unknown and realizing that you're capable of handling it. You don't need permission. You don't need certainty. You need to take the first step. That first step might be small. It might be messy. It might not look impressive to anyone else. But it's the most important step of all, because it gets you out of inertia and into momentum. And momentum is everything. Once you're in motion, the next step gets easier. The next idea becomes clearer. The next idea becomes clearer. The next action feels more natural. Action creates clarity. Action builds confidence. Action generates results. And results are the ultimate form of feedback. You don't need to wonder what works when you're actively testing it. You can stop guessing and start observing. You can tweak, pivot, and evolve based on data, not theory. That's the advantage of doers over thinkers. They don't just have ideas. They have evidence. They know what's working, what's not, and what to do next. That's not to say you shouldn't plan. Planning matters. Strategy matters. Strategy matters. But don't confuse preparation with progress. If planning becomes a form of procrastination, it's no longer useful. It's just resistance dressed up as productivity. You don't need a 10-year plan to start moving. You need to make the next right move. One step, one decision, one action. That's how momentum is built. You also have to stop worrying about what people think. The fear of judgment is one of the biggest barriers to taking action. But here's the truth. Most people are too busy with their own lives to be thinking about yours. And the ones who criticize from the sidelines aren't doing anything worth emulating anyway. No one doing more than you will ever look down on you for starting small. The people worth listening to are the ones who remember what it was like to take the first step, and they respect it. You don't need to build the perfect business plan to start your side hustle. You don't need to wait for January 1st to get in shape. You don't need to have all the answers to start writing your book, launching your project, or applying for that opportunity. You need to move. Start the blog. Record the video, make the call. Send the email. Launch the page. Go to the gym. Raise your hand. Whatever it is, start now. Greatness isn't a grand event. It's a series of small, repeated actions taken with urgency and intention. The people who rise to the top are not the smartest or the most talented. They're the ones who take initiative. They move. They take risks. They put their work into the world. They start before they feel ready, and they trust themselves to figure it out along the way. You have to be willing to take imperfect steps toward a perfect vision. You have to trust that you'll grow into the person who can handle the next level. And that growth won't happen by reading about it or planning for it. It happens in the arena, in the doing. doing. In the messy, uncomfortable, sometimes confusing act of showing up day after day, despite not having it all figured out. Most of what you fear about taking action is exaggerated. You fear failure, but failure is feedback. You fear judgment, but judgment is short-lived. You fear making the wrong move, but the wrong move often leads to the right path. The only thing to truly fear is inaction, because inaction becomes habit, and that habit slowly becomes regret. You don't get stronger by thinking about the gym. You don't become a leader by reading leadership quotes. You don't become successful by having great ideas in your notebook. You become all of those things by taking action, even when it's uncomfortable, unclear, or inconvenient. That's the game. Start now. Learn fast. Adjust as you go. Keep moving forward.